Now, this is obviously the alternative teaching model. How did you come up with this teaching model? It's not one that's widely recognized, not one that's widely taught in school. How did you know this was going to work?
Right. So what initially happened was, and again, we started with the goal of saying, how do we produce something that's this quality, at the quality of the very best schools, at 90% cheaper than what those schools charge, right? So we'll have to do things wildly different. That was sort of the assumption. And what we ended up doing was looking at the learning process at a very granular level, saying, okay, if we want to get you from point A to point B, not what's the content we need to give you, what are the skills you need, and what are the activities you need to do to get those skills? Then we said, okay, of those activities, what's the best way, both the most effective and the most efficient, the least expensive way, for us to administer that activity, right? So for example, our grade 8s this year were reading Shakespeare. When they read Shakespeare, in a class discussion on Macbeth with kids who a year ago were reading at a grade 3 level, you better have a good teacher, right, running that. However, in another classroom where they're actually just sitting and reading the play and answering questions on it, for example, also important, but not at the same level of teaching skill required, and actually better if you don't have a really experienced teacher, because that teacher is going to step in too soon. Right? So we basically looked at how do we separate these things out, the things that require very highly skilled intervention from a teacher, and the things that can be done as well or sometimes even better using our two main techniques outside of the skilled teacher, one of which is technology and the other one is peer learning. Right? So by using those two methods, we can have a model that actually brings the quality up while at the same time bringing the cost down.
When you speak about peer learning, what does that mean?
So what that means is we have our scholars, we call them scholars at our school. They spend a lot of time teaching each other concepts, teaching each other how to solve the different types of problems, and everyone is at times a teacher over the course of a single day, and everyone will be at times a learner. And so I'll give you an example from a math lesson, how it would work. So a typical math lesson for us involves 3 components. And they start in a class we call team math, where they're given a problem that is a little bit harder than what any one of them could do. Right? And so that's one place where peer learning happens, where they're working together. You have a team of 4 or 5 working together to try to solve this problem. And different people are giving their ideas, and they're trying to come up with a solution. They'll then step into a room we call instructional math, where they begin by presenting whatever they've done. Right? And then the teacher has to get them from their imperfect, often misguided ideas to an understanding of the concept. Then they go from there to what we call independent math, but actually even independent math uses quite a bit of peer teaching and peer learning, because they'll start practicing problems immediately, often using a computer, practicing problems on that same topic. And what will happen then is, if you and I are both practicing problems, we might both think we understand it, but then we start working and you find you're getting it and I'm not. Right? Not only can then you move on to harder things, but I can say, hey, Jennifer, could you help me with this, right? And so then instead of relying on the teacher, you're actually helping me out, and we know that that's okay because you're getting these answers right. So you must understand some things, and usually you can teach me in a way that will be easier for me to understand than the teacher would have been. So that's another place where we have peer learning taking place.